I wanted to film this yesterday, but then was like, hey, do you want to go to a Bondi Beach for a morning swim? And I don't live long enough in Australia to refuse something like this. So instead of my color grading introduction, here are some examples what Dehancer can do for you from the beach. Hello. Face me. Oh, by the way, big shout out to people from Dehancer for providing the license. Even though my channel has like less than 100 subscribers, I really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, let's have a look at some practical examples in DaVinci Resolve. And at this point, I'm using Dehancer like a month, I think. So that's not nearly enough for a deep dive. But I wanted to share my workflow and what works for me. I'm not going to talk about every option and everything you can do in Dehancer, but there is a really good quick guide on the Dehancer's website, so I'll leave a link in the description because it helped me when I was starting. Today I wanna show you two use cases. I have these two video clips on my timeline. Both were shot on the log profile, maximizing the dynamic range of the camera. And the thing with the log profile is that you need to correct the gamma and contrast of the clip before starting the color grading. So you can do this inside the Dehancer. There are a few camera profiles that you can use, but for the Fujifilm, the camera profile is not there. So I'll show you how to correct the log footage first and then use it in Dehancer. So let's start with this video clip, these two girls. Let's go to the color page. And here I have a Dehancer and I can change the source of this footage. So I'll choose the camera, which was Blackmagic Design, 6K, and it was Gen 5 ISO 400. The log footage is now showing as a Rec 709 on our timeline. But if we check the footage from the Fujifilm, if we go inside the Dehancer and we choose the camera, there is a Fujifilm, but my camera is not there yet. So what I do, I'll add a new node here, serial before, and here we will do the color space transform. Color space transform. I'll show you my my color management settings. I'm using the DaVinci YRBG Color Science with Rec 709 and Rec 709 Gamma 2.4 as an output color space. So here we are gonna use the input color space is Rec 2020 for Fujifilm. Input gamma is F-log2, which is not here. I'll show you. Fujifilm F-log, that's not what we wanted. But I tested few of them and Log-C is very similar. And in the output color space is the Rec 709, output gamma 2.4. Okay. And here we are not choosing the camera, we are working with Rec 709 because we transformed the log footage to Rec 709 here. Output color space Rec 709. And yeah, that's our starting point, which doesn't look very good right now, but we'll make it better, I promise. So when I start the color grade in Dehancer, the first thing I usually do is selecting the film and the print of the film. Let's go with something like the Ektachrome E100 and let's do the print. Let's try the Kodak 2383, my favorite combination. Okay, we chose our film and the print, and then I would usually start with the input, which is just the technical correction of the original footage. It's not your creative color grading yet. Yeah, I'm happy with the input. And the next one is the film developer. If I enable it, first thing I do is like boosting the colors. 60 looks great. And you have few more options here, like boosting the contrast and then correcting the gamma, which I don't think we need to really. Then I usually go to the expand and I want to set my black point and white point. You can see we have a lot of space here. So let's go almost to 0. We don't want to clip the black or white. I want to enable the film compression as well. And the film compression, we don't really need it here, but this is to fine-tune the highlights. And I'll show you the impact. You can see it's lifting the highlights of our image. Okay, this looks pretty good. We set this one, we set our print, and then there is a color head, which is pretty cool as well. And that's like a split toning of your image. If you think like there is a lot of blue there and you want to add more yellow to the image, you can do it here, blue, yellow. Same thing with magenta or green and the cyan and red. I like a little bit of red here. And then you have a same thing for shadows, midtones and highlights. We have these three really resource heavy options here, which is the grain, halation and bloom. And I'm using the MacBook Air with M2 chip, and you can see we are playing it at 24 frames to 24 frames per second. But if I start to enabling these things like a grain, halation and bloom, you'll get like a half 11. So I usually do this at the end of the grade when the look is developed already. So yeah, and these three options are pretty self-explanatory. You have a grain with a lot of profiles already there, but if you choose the one that you like, for example this one, you can change the amount of grain on your footage. But if you want to fine-tune, you can go to custom which will retain the options from your previous profile. I really like the film grain in Dehancer because it's not just the overlay on the top of your footage, but it actually interacts with your image the same way as the celluloid film would. And you can see that it's resource heavy. So what I usually do, you don't need to enable grain here, but you can enable grain for your all the clips on your timeline. You can see it's already there. So this one, Dehancer, everything is unchecked, disabled, but I usually enable just the film grain here, which will apply grain for all your clips. And I enable this before I export the whole edit, which is probably not the correct way of doing things. You should do this for each clip separately, but this is like easy and quick. Let's go to the clip, and then we have the halation here, which you probably seen halation before. It's the reflection of the red layer on the celluloid film, which seeps back, and I'll show you really big change. This is very pronounced here. You can see what I mean. It's the red glow around very contrasty points of the image. But let's not overdo this. I usually do the 35mm. And then the last option is the bloom, which is just blooming the white parts of the image. I'll show you it here. Probably. If I enable the bloom, you can see what that does with the image, which I really like, but this is too much. And then you have a few more options, like you can enable the film damage, which I usually don't really do. But you can see the stuff that's dirtying your footage here. It can be useful sometimes, but yeah, not always. It's like a very specific usage. Same with the film breadth. I'll show you what that does. If I play the footage, it's like this slight change of exposure and tint. You can see it in the highlights here. It's like flickering. And the gate weave, let me set it up to 8mm so you can see what it does. And this is like moving the image a little bit. It's like when the celluloid film is projecting, and then the overscan. You've probably seen this on YouTube or Instagram. Let's do this one, and that's doing this. It's just the overscan of your negative. I mean, it's cool, but again, very specific usage. I wouldn't normally use this. Then we have a vignette here. Let me just disable this. Vignetting, self-explanatory. You can change this. We don't need this for this footage. It can be much quicker to do this with the vignetting instead of power windows. So yeah. You can do the false colors, which can be useful. But this is also one of my favorite things. So you can generate the LUT if you have your color grade done. And then you can use the LUTs on the Blackmagic here. It's really useful if someone is watching on the director monitors while you are filming. Okay, and that's it. We went from this to Rec 709 and then to the grade. We went from this to this. And let me show you quickly what can you do to copy one color grade to another footage? What I usually do, just to apply grade, and usually it's the exposure that you need to change, and then the expand. Yeah, and we went quickly from this to this. Yeah, and if you want to use different profile, there is really a lot of them, and also you can combine the profile of the film with the print, which will give you the different results. So we can still have the Ektachrome here, but if you change the Fujifilm, the blues are different than the, and then the Kodak Endura glossy paper looks different as well. And yeah, that's it. If you want to see more real life examples, I graded my previous vlog from Bathurst with Dehancer. There will be a link in the description. And also there will be a promo code for 10% off if you decide to purchase Dehancer. Yeah, I hope this was helpful, that you learned something, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.